Hello everyone, it's Leo, and in this video we are going to talk about Delicious Party PreCure Yumemiru Oko-sama Lunch, which is the Delicious Party PreCure movie. I was super hyped to watch it. I finally managed to watch this movie. Thank you very much, Sarah and I, for subbing it for us. I am super happy that we are able to finally see it. And I'm going to talk about it. Obviously, this video is going to be full of spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it and then come back to check out my opinion and share yours as well. I'm not going to detail everything that happens, but I'm obviously going to talk about certain events in certain details. So be warned, this is going to be a spoiler video. And I think I want to separate this video into two different parts. One of them being the human portion, or like the plot, the emotion part, and the other one being the cure part. Because let me just say this, I really loved the emotional part, the plot, the story, the way the characters interacted, but I did not like anything about the cures in this movie. But let's talk about everything. So first, I think that one of the highest points, the highest point of this movie is the story between Yui and Kate Sith. I loved that, and I loved that first moment of the movie. One of the things I always used to say in my Delicious Party impression videos was that Yui has a very strong philosophy throughout Delicious Party, and Delicious Party used to create scenarios in which Yui would be confronted with a different point of view than hers. This happened more at the end of Delicious Party, but it happened a couple of times. And it's interesting to know that this happened when Yui was a very young kid. And at that moment, her grandma, Yone, was still alive, and she already had that motto of food is smiles, gohan wa ego. And she shares it with a kid that was feeling very sad. And she creates the Oko-sama lunch for that kid, and that kid was finally able to smile. Even though he, before that, was not feeling anything, and he wanted to be closed to the world, and he didn't want to feel good emotions, but he was able to feel a good emotion. That drawing that Yui did was also very cute, and it was also very important to the movie overall. And Yui is just too adorable. So that scene, for me, was just perfection. And then we have other scenes of Dreamia appearing in Oishina town, the girls visiting Dreamia, and all the action starting, the girls having fun on all the attractions. But I was kind of disappointed in Pom-Pom's and Men-Men's human form. Not in their human forms because they look very cute, but in the way it happened and the reaction of the movie when it happened. Because when they turned into humans, that was kind of supposed to be a big thing, because Komekome is the only one that is able to have that power. They are not, and then they turned into humans, and it was like, Kokone reacted to Pom-Pom, Ran reacted to Men-Men, and that was it. I felt that scene lacked so much emotion. I don't know. I just found that super weird. And I was expecting to see that moment, and I wish that moment was bigger, as in emotionally bigger, and it had a bigger impact in the scene and in the next few scenes, but it just didn't. It was super bland, super boring, as if it was something mundane for them, as if it was something that happened every now and then. Weird. But the scenes of them playing in Dreamia was very cute, and I enjoyed the fact that Komekome was starting to deal with her own philosophy as well. Because we have Takumi appearing and talking about Oko-sama lunch, which is something for kids, and it's important to do a little parenthesis here to mention that Oko-sama lunch is something that in Japan is done for kids. Some restaurants serve Oko-sama lunch, and they're only served for kids. If you're an adult, they're not going to serve you an Oko-sama lunch. So that is a kid's meal in Japan. So Komekome wanted to grow up. She wanted to be an older kid, not a younger kid, because she wanted to be like Yui, who is a kid as well, but she felt that she needed to grow up to become the hero that she wants to be. So she tried to find ways of not acting like a kid. And Okosama lunch, not eating an Okosama lunch, was one of them. And then she sees Yui acting as a hero, the hero she admires, and her eyes are gleaming, and that is another confirmation that that is who she is, who she wants to be, that is who Yui is, and that is who she wants to be. And then we have some funny scenes with Mari, and Kome tries to act as a hero for the first time, and everything goes wrong for the cures. Black Pepper appears and saves the girls, and it was very funny seeing Black Pepper try to, get around the situation and say, look, this is the first time I meet you, nice to meet you, because the girls were already de-transformed. I'm obviously going to talk about that scene when we're talking about the cure portion. And so we start getting more information on Kate Sith himself, and we start understanding more on what he believes and what is actually going on in Dreamia. So we have the three energy fairies eating Okosama lunch, and it's funny that Komekome didn't want to eat, but she ate everything she could very fast. She is just like her best friend Yui, and her plan goes down the drain, and the girls are able to meet Kate Sith as well, but they know something is wrong. They know that it was obviously Mari knew something was wrong, and Takumi knew something was wrong. Like, something was not right with Dreamia. And at that moment, we start understanding a little bit more from Kate Sith, and his design is actually inspired by the cat that Yui drew when she was a kid. And we have the moment of the girls reconnecting with their mascots and they being able to transform again, except for Yui, that stays as Yui, and Komekome stays as Komekome. That's the point in the story that Yui actually understands that that little green, fluffy, supposedly cat is actually someone she knows. And she refuses to engage in battle. But then we start to see more. We start to see that there is a delicious stone, which is the source of power through through Dreamia. And we start to understand more on Kate Sith. And here's where I thought the story got really, really interesting. Because we met Kate Sith when he was a jaded kid. But after that, he became someone very different because of Yui's influence. Yui changed the way he perceives life. We don't know what happened to him before he met Yui for him to become a sad kid. But we understand how he became Kate Sith after everything that happened, because that is told. So he is a gifted kid, he is a very intelligent person, and he discovers that source of energy. And that source of energy is supposedly strong enough to help people all over the world. And he is able, with his techniques and his intelligence and hard work, he is able to control that energy somehow. But adults around him use that power in another way. That is not the way he wanted to use. And so we have a conflict of ideas. Kate Sith believes in the innocence of children and the way children view the world. Probably because of the innocence that Yui gave to him right at the start of the movie or when they were children, and that's probably what saved him. That's probably what brought a smile back to him and showed him that life can be valued. And at the same time, we have another point of view, which is the point of view from adults who are using power to control other people and not to help other people and not to bring smiles to other people. And so this conflict of ideas make that little kid, who is now a man, become someone very angry, and he decides to use the power that he's able to control to actually protect kids in his own way. And so Kate Sith is created, he uses that power, he canalizes that power and transforms adults into plushies. As we can see, he has the power to transform energy fairies into humans, into kids actually. I mean, kids are humans, but only kids, not humans in general. Kids are humans, but not all humans are kids. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's interesting because one of that sources of power is a delicious stone, a special delicious stone. I don't think that it's very important on how that happened because based on the last episode of Delicious Party, the movie isn't really canon because the mascots turn into humans and they're all shocked. So it's kind of like this didn't really happen in the Delicious Party timeline, so it doesn't really matter. But he has a delicious stone. Was it Godax? Was it Ginger? I don't think that's important. But that is the source of power, and basically Kate Sith is not able to control his emotions any longer, and he wants to attack and destroy and conquer. And it's interesting that he creates a scenario to protect all the kids that are in Dreamia. He is able to protect everybody, except for the adults that he doesn't want to protect. And Takumi gets Mari. I love that moment that Takumi makes Mari return to being a human with the Delicious Stone. Takumi's Delicious Stone is a healing Delicious Stone, so that was very interesting to see. And so the final battle starts with a Delicious Field. I was so angry when we had a Delicious Field. But I'm not going to talk about the cure part. I'm going to talk about that later. Focusing on the events themselves, which I think the cure portion doesn't really matter. What matters in that fighting scene, emotion-wise, plot-wise, was the talk that Yui and Kome had. They were trying to find a way of getting through to Kate Sith again. And they didn't know if it was possible or not. But that's what heroes do. They try. They would never simply destroy Kate Sith without at least trying to get through to him. Because at the end of the day, Kate Sith has his heart in the right place. His actions were wrong, but his ideas were not. And they understood it. They noticed that all he wanted was to bring smiles to kids and protect the smiles and the ideas of kids and their dreams. But he made mistakes along the way and became what he became. So we have that big robot. The big robot is defeated. Yui and Kame are able to talk to him and purify him. Let him return to being the human that he once was. And I really liked the design of that character. It was very lovely. And everything was right at the end. And he was able to say goodbye. Kame was able to get him and, give him a proper goodbye. And it was very nice. I really like that scene when Kame, the girls were all there and Kame just goes back and hugs him. I just loved that moment so much. It was so heartwarming. And it's so nice because it was because of Kame's ideals of becoming a hero that Kate Sith was trying to protect that he was able to be saved at the end of the day. Obviously, Yui had a very strong part in all of this, and Yui is the source of Kame's dream. But because Kate Sith was trying to protect that dream so hard, and the innocence of a kid so hard, he was able to be saved at the end of the day. And I love that. And I really like that he turns back and says, I'm going to atone for what I did, and I'm going to become a new person. And that's what he did. Later on, he opened his own restaurant, and he's probably bringing lots of smiles to people around him. And it's very nice because now that we watched the movie, I was able to recognize him on episode 44 from Delicious Party, that he appeared as well. So that was a nice thing because I didn't know that was Kate Sith. I saw on the internet later, but when I was watching the episode, I was like, that hair color is not from a regular civilian. That is somebody. So at the end of the day, I loved the Kate Sith story with Yui, with Kome. It was gorgeous. Now let's talk about the cure portion. First, we have a fighting scene of the girls against a Secretru Ubaozo, and I like the narrative part of that introduction. Yone was narrating the scene and she was describing each of the girls. That was very cool, and there were some cool shots of each of the cures as well. The scene itself was nothing special. It just felt like a regular episode from Delicious Party. But to be honest, the fighting scenes of this movie felt a regular episode of Delicious Party to me. And so, like, to an introduction, it was okay. And then we get to another scene in which the girls are fighting those police robots. Look, I can't say that was my biggest disappointment because there was a bigger disappointment later, but that scene was so boring. How couldn't the girls fight them? And I usually like when we have lots of mobs in PreCure because they're not people and they don't have feelings, so they can go all out with their powers against them in general, in PreCure seasons in general. You know, it's not a villain that you say, oh, they can't go all out, they can't hurt the villain very much, because it's happening in more recent seasons. Those were just robots. They could go all out, but no, what did they do? They were too weak to fight against those robots. And that was so ridiculous. That was so ridiculous. I hated that scene. And then we had Finale doing like a roundhouse kick and a robot falling into another. So boring. Oh my god. There were some nice shots here and there. And then we have them attacking the girls again a little later. And the girls de-transform, except for Finale. That was so weird. Why did they de-transform? Was it because of the mascots? Or was it because like they took a big hit? Because they didn't. Was it because of the mascots and I didn't understand the scene? Anyways, weird. And then we have other moments of the girls as cures without Yui. And we do have some interesting bits here and there. But still nothing that comes close to what a PreCure movie usually is. And then we have my biggest disappointment, which is the big moment of all the girls fighting with the mascots. The mascots turn into magical beings, and the transformation is everything. I really love the transformation scene of the mascots and of the cures as well. That was very beautiful. All of the forms look stunning. I don't even know which forms I like more, the movie ones or the series ones. I think I like the movie ones a little bit more. They look really incredible. And that scene of the transformation was everything to me. I loved every second. Very, very good. But the fighting scene was such a disappointment. It was so fast. They didn't do anything. Like Kome and Yui and Cure Precious had a nice moment with the punch. That was cool. Men and Pam Pam were forgotten in the barbecue, as we say here in Brazil. They were totally forgotten in the barbecue. I was so angry. When the scene ended, I was very emotional with Kate Sith and Kate Sith's story, but when the punch broke the spot that he was in, I was like, no way, it's over. Pam Pam and Men didn't do anything. I was so angry. Why didn't they transform? Why did they transform? Like, why? I was so disappointed. But, you know, what can we do? And as I said, the forms themselves are so pretty. The transformation scene is so pretty. But nothing happened with them. I was so angry. And the final attack was also very boring. Okay, we could see them a little better. We could see the forms in action. Not really in action because they stood still. But still we could see the forms a little more. And Pam and Men participated in that moment. Okay, I get it. But still, very boring. Very boring. So I am torn on my overall opinion on this movie. I think that it's a movie that I enjoyed a lot, and I got disappointed a lot as well. Delicious Party isn't a season that calls my attention with the fighting scenes at all, but I was expecting a little more from the movie because it happens in every PreCure movie basically, except for like one or two. And this time it just didn't happen. And I was disappointed because my expectations were high, and you guys know how much I love Pom Pom. And nothing was delivered. Unfortunately, nothing was delivered when it comes to Pom Pom. And Man Man, even. Man Man is not my favorite, but still, I wanted to see it. But even though the Cure portion of the movie was not very good, it was not my cup of tea, everything else when it comes to the story and the plot was very good. I love Yui. I think she's super precious, as her name says. It was amazing to see her in action. Not in action as in Cure Precious, but in action as in Yui, and her philosophy being carried through and through in the movie. That was gorgeous. I loved it. And just have to say, the short, amazing. Amazing. That is how you do a funny All-Stars. That was just everything. I just loved it. And Cure Spicy screaming, Kirayaba! 10 out of 10 for me. That part is a 10 out of 10 for me. It was everything. Anyways, babies, this was my opinion on the Delicious Party PreCure movie. What are your opinions? What were your favorite moments of the movie? Please leave in the comments. Let's keep talking about it. Anyways, babes, this is all for now. A special thank you to the members of the Magical Cinema channel. If you are a member, thank you very much for your support. And if you've watched up channel, thank you so much as well. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye!